My favorite comic book character or actual book? Both? Okay. So I grew up, my dad was a meanie. Like, I'm talking like straight up evil the way he would do this to us. Okay, so in the 90s, it was either Spider-Man or X-Men. Those were the comic characters that everybody knew about. My dad is an old school guy, right? So he knew about this character named Black Bolt, right? Black Bolt's King of the Inhumans. Now, me and my brother, we're playing, we've got these like toys, and like he was Wolverine, I was Gambit or whatever. I'm like, yeah, I'm sweet. Like, I can fight you from afar. He's like, I got the adamantium claws. It's like, it doesn't matter. You can't get to me. Blah, blah, blah. It's fine. He's like, yo, can I play? And we're like, well, you can be Cyclops. He's like, I don't want to be Cyclops. And we're like, well, you can be Colossus. He's like, I don't want to be Colossus. We're like, well, who are you going to be? He actually had gone out and bought a Black Bolt toy and busted out, right? And he's like, I'm Black Bolt. And he's like, I'm beating all of you. We're like, who is this guy? Like, what are you talking about? This dude is like, he's super strong, he can fly, he's got this antenna on his head, and it can change the molecular structure of anything. Like, you know, oh, adamantium, oh, I think it's made out of rubber bands. Like, that's what he can do. And so I'm like, oh my God, it's crazy. He's like, yeah, but that's not even like his best power. I'm like, well, what is it? It's like his voice. And I'm like, oh, he screams? I was like, Black Canary can scream. He's like, no, this is not this guy. I said, his voice, he's like, his voice is so powerful, he doesn't speak. And I'm like, well, what good is that? He's like, no, if he speaks, he destroys everything around him. Like, it's done. It's not like I aim it at you and I hit you. He's not allowed to talk, because if he does, it'll destroy everything. Like, the only thing that's standing is him. And I'm like, wow. What's this guy's name? He's like, Black Bolt, King of the Inhumans. I'm like, that's my new favorite character. So that's where my love of Black Bolt comes from. That dude is sweet. Like, you guys will know about Black Bolt soon. They're going to make an Inhumans movie, and everybody will know about Black Bolt. You'll see.
He was in Marvel Ultimate Alliance, too.
He might have been.
Like, he was that one guy sitting in the chair. He's like, oh, he can't speak. Why? He would destroy everything.
That's Black Bolt.
Would kill you.
That's Black Bolt. Like, trust me when okay, one of my favorite moments in comics was from this series called Earth X, written by Jim Kruger, art by John Paul Leon, covers by Alex Ross. It's fantastic. And in this one scene, Black Bolt is out in space, right? And he's fighting these things called the Celestials. And he's, you know, they're shooting at him, and he's getting hit, and he gets up and he screams at them, and they're getting hit. And so the Watcher is talking to Reed Richards. He's like, you know, Black Bolt can't win, right? Like, there's no way he's going to beat a Celestial. Like, he's powerful, but he's not going to beat a Celestial. And Reed is like, he's not trying to beat a Celestial. He's just trying to get in position so he can call for help. And he's like, call for help? What are you talking about? And so, like, in this last-ditch effort, like, they're killing Black Bolt. He lets loose one last scream. It's like this epic, like, like it's it, right? Hits nobody. Like, doesn't even come close. Watcher's like, look, your dude missed. He sucks. He's garbage. He's like, no, he didn't miss. He knew what he was doing. The next issue, Galactus shows up to fight the Celestials. Galactus says, I heard somebody call my name, and I came. In space. There's no air in space. You can't hear in space. Black Bolt screamed in space, and galaxies away, Galactus heard him and came. It was like, what? Somebody called? What? Who's looking for me? That's how powerful Black Bolt is. That was like one of my favorite moments in comic book history. Another one that really rates really high with me is JLA number 27, written by Mark Miller, art by Mark Pajarillo. I've never learned how to say this guy's last name, but it's a standalone issue. It's brilliant. They fight Amazo, and the way that they beat him is so ridiculously smart. It's dumb. Like, it's one of those things where you're like, wow. Real? Like, you'd almost get mad if it wasn't so cool. Where you're like, come on, bro. Like, for real? Like, do you want me to tell you? Do you want me to tell you what happened? Okay, I'll tell you. All right. So Amazo is fighting, right? And he can, like, duplicate the members of the Justice League's powers, right? And so, like, the first guys on this scene is, like, Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman shows up, like, right away because it's like, oh, it's Amazo. I got to jump in. Amazo is kicking the crap out of these guys. I mean, like, Superman's got a black eye. Like, who blacked Superman's eye? This dude did. Like, he was like, really? Go sleep. Like, it was real. So, like, they end up calling reserve members. They're like, yo, we're getting stomped right now. Like, he's programmed with all our powers. Bring in the reserve members. We got to overpower this guy. And so they call in Captain Marvel. They call in Black Lightning. They call in Captain Atom. They call in all these different people. The Doom Patrol. And, like, Amazo's, like, sees all these guys coming. He's like, thank you. And he starts using their powers. And they're like, what is wait. He wasn't even doing that a minute ago. What is this? How do we win? And so the Atom, the guy that shrinks down real small. He's Brandon Roth on the Arrow show, right? They're going to do the Legends or whatever series. This guy, the Atom, is like, hey, I know how to beat him. And they're like, listen, you're one of the weakest guys. Like, we appreciate it, but like, no, like, stop. Like, don't do that. And he's like, no, listen. He's like, what are you going to do? Like, shrink him? And he's like, no, it'll be fine. He's like, I know how to beat him. It's fine. And they're like, okay. So like he shrinks down to like the size of a molecule, rides a radio wave through Flash's like earpiece so he can get to the fight, right? And so he finds Superman, and Superman's like one of the last dudes standing. Like I said, he's got a black eye, he's bleeding from his nose and mouth. Like Superman's been beat up, right? He's like, man, this is ridiculous. And so the Atom is on his shoulder, and Superman's like, are you sure this is gonna work? He's like, trust me, like this is gonna work, I promise you. And Superman's like, all right, fine, I'm gonna try this. And he's standing there, and Amazo's looking at him like, you ready? Because I'm ready. I'm about to bring it. Superman says, as chairperson of the Justice League, I hereby disband the team. We're no longer a team. And Amazo shuts down. The way he was designed, he could only duplicate the powers of members of the Justice League. If there is no Justice League, he can't duplicate anything. And they kicked the crap out of him real quick. But it was like the coolest thing ever. It was like, wow. Like they kept throwing stuff at him and he's whooping everybody down. The weakest dude was the guy who came up with the answers. Like, yeah, stop adding people, just disband the league. It's fine. It's done. Like, I didn't even get punched in the face. Look at you, you're dumb. And like, it was the greatest moment ever. Like, I love it. I absolutely love it. So yeah. Any other questions?
I didn't see that coming at all.
I know,
I thought
right?
It was going to be like the Atom
gets into
big,
him or something.
Like the Atom gets big, he copies his powers, and then as soon as he does that, he gets small. They step on him,
and it's
over.
done. Nope. He took it so that he turned off his power duplication ability. He just couldn't even do it because there is no Justice League now. So he can't even do anything. Like, he's just a robot. Like, Superman walks up to him and is like, and it's done. Like, hilarious. I'm telling you, it's why it's one of my favorite books of all time. All time. Yeah, it's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Comic book writer or writer/artist was like your biggest inspiration?
I was about to ask that.
Oh man, my biggest writing and /artist inspirations are Mark Miller is definitely like top tier. Just about anything he does, I will read. Especially that we seem to, at least recently, been on a similar idea track. His series Jupiter Circle, which just came out issues 3 and 4 just recently came out a few months ago, and it's very similar to my book, The Trouble with Love, which was written like 3 years before. It's a very different story, but I love it when, somebody who you respect is on the same vein or says, anything similar to something you were already thinking or something like that. It kind of gives you like a big boost. So I love his stuff. Robert Kirkman, the creator of Walking Dead, or co-creator of Walking Dead. He co-created Invincible, a lot of really cool titles. I love his swag. Grant Morrison is a brilliant writer. Jeff Johns, I respect a lot. Brian Michael Bendis, also from Ohio. Got a lot of love for that dude. In terms of art, Frank Quitely is like top tier. Like, you can't get much better in terms of illustration than that dude. That dude is incredible. I can't even say. Like, the dude is amazing. Always a fan of Jim Lee, Leinil Yu, lots of those guys. But yeah, Frank. All-Star Superman is one of the greatest books you'll ever read. Like, I don't count that one in my growing up ones because I was grown when it came out, but that one is probably my favorite series of all time. Yeah, All-Star Superman, brilliant, utterly brilliant and amazing. Yeah.
Is his name really Frank Quitely?
No, his name is Vincent, but he goes by Frank Quitely as a joke on Quite Frankly.
Yeah, because I caught that as soon as you said it. I was like,
yeah, it's like, that's not, his mama didn't. Did she name him that? No. That's a pseudonym that he picked up, but for that reason. Yeah, it was pretty funny. Yeah.
Like, another question I have is, like, what made you, want to start your own, publishing?
My own imprint? Yeah. I always felt like in order to be considered, a legit creator, you had to have an imprint. That was, I didn't do it with, the intent of doing anything, specific. It's funny. Somebody recently just asked me that, what's the mission statement of my imprint? I was like, I have no idea. I just want to make cool stuff. But I reached out to Mark Miller because we've become kind of friendly, and I'm like, why did you do it? And he kind of told me his mindset behind, creating things the way that he wanted to. And I think that that's the thing that I can borrow from. I wanted to make my own stories my own way. And so my imprint is all about that. It's about exploring whatever possibilities I think are available and just going at it that way.
Did you ever think of like working with the other big studios like Marvel, DC?
I mean, I would work for them, yeah, but I wouldn't give up what I've got to do it. I like being my own boss. I like telling my own stories, and that's the thing. Like when it's my company, I can tell the stories that I want to. If I work for somebody else, I have to deal with their editorial, their ideas, their vision for where things go, and maybe I can fit that, maybe I can't. So I like being able to say, like, this is what I intended for something to be, and then making it happen.
Another question I had just left my head.
You was asking me when's the next time I'm gonna win $1 million? Tomorrow. Calling it.
Calling it?
I'm calling it. Tomorrow. $1 million. I'm gonna have it. Like I'm just saying. One way or the other.
What would you recommend as a comic to read?
Oh, as a comic to read? Oh my God. All of mine, number one. I mean, that's just like, I gotta do my job here, all right? So all of mine, because mine are like better than anything. Definitely All-Star Superman. That's a great one. Watchmen is a beyond phenomenal book. Like, don't watch the movie, read the book. Only because, like, the movie is like almost exactly the book, but you get a lot more respect and appreciation when you see what the book did. Like, there weren't comic books like that when it came out. So the idea of what it is, brilliant, like phenomenal. Dark Knight Returns is definitely a big one. One that a lot of people like sleep on is The Walking Dead. They don't realize it is a comic book. That is a crazy, tremendous book. Like, absolutely brilliant. I am going to give a shout out to my man Dirk Manning's work. Nightmare World is a brilliant thing. I didn't like horror comics. Like, I read The Walking Dead and it was great, and I was like, yeah, that's cool, but I didn't like follow it. It wasn't until I read Nightmare World that I even cared about horror comics. So that's another like really good one. If you want something that's a little more interesting in terms of being like open, like not necessarily all ages, but kind of open, but featuring a black comic superhero, there's a title called Hot Shot from a company called Freestyle Comics. Definitely get that first arc. It's called Heroes Welcome. It's kind of good. It's kind of good. I'm just gonna say that it's kind of good. But yeah, those are some good ones to check out. Definitely.